Good evening, everyone, and we are back with our first session on question solving. These sessions will ensure that whatever doubts you have, or what if certain concepts are not clear, we will be working on getting those concepts in place, and we'll also try to solve as many questions as is possible so that the concepts get reinforced with you. I will be focusing on study hub questions to begin with, and then of course I'll give you the kit questions as homework. Have a look at the first one. Okay. What amount should be charged to each copy of item 2145 for setup cost? Curtis runs a printing business. He estimates that his printing machine will need to set up 200 times per month at a monthly cost of 80,000. Item 2145 has to be printed in batches of 50 copies, where each batch requires the machine to be set up twice. Okay. Curtis expects the annual demand for item 2145 to be 5,000 copies. Now, I think the first step when we are doing any question in PM or any subject for that matter is at least let's try to identify which topic is this question from. When you look at this one, tell me which topic is this, does this question appear to be from? They want you to tell the cost charged to a particular item, basically setup cost. What topic does this pertain to?
ABC costing.
This basically pertains to activity-based costing. Okay, now in activity-based costing, see, activity-based costing is what? Activity-based costing is a method of apportionment of overheads. What is apportionment of overheads? Apportionment of overheads basically means distribution of the total overheads over the different items. So here they are telling you that the total overheads incurred. Okay, what is the monthly overhead? Monthly setup cost, which is 80,000. This is the overhead expense that we are talking about. And what are overhead? The term overhead means over and above something. Over and above what? Over and above the prime cost that you incur or the direct cost that you incur with respect to a particular item. Here, the direct cost is material, labor. Okay, these are fixed overheads which now have to be distributed over a number of other items, number of units produced or whatever it is. Here the monthly setup cost is 80,000 and the machine needs to be set up 200 times a month. So when we are using activity based costing, it is in contrast to the traditional idea of absorption of overheads. In the traditional approach, you always divide it by the number of units or number of hours. But in activity based costing, what we are trying to analyze is for each item of overheads, can we find out that item which basically drives the overhead cost? What do you mean by drives the overhead cost? That item which influences the overhead cost. Say, for example, if I'm talking about the delivery cost, okay, in case of delivery cost, what do you think is the item which influences delivery cost? It could be number of deliveries, it could be distance traveled. If I'm talking about, say, something like, rent, which is also an overhead, and I want to distribute the rent cost over multiple products which are stored in my warehouse, I will see how much space does each item or each category of item occupy, and then the total overhead cost will be distributed depending on how much area does each item occupy in that particular warehouse. Here, the monthly setup cost is 80,000. Naturally, it will be influenced by the number of setups in the month. So, what is number of setups per month? It is 200. So, what is cost per setup? Cost per setup is 80,000 upon 200. This is the setup cost per setup. Now, once we have identified this, let's look at item 2145. Okay. What is item 2145? Item 2145 has an annual demand of 5,000 copies. Excuse me, annual demand of 5,000 copies. It has to be printed in batches of 50 copies. So, copies per batch 50. That means what is the number of batches? The number of batches is 5,000 upon 50, which is 100.
100.
Sorry, 100. And Each batch requires the machine to be set up twice. So, number of setups per batch. You need two setups per batch, isn't it? It has to be set up twice. So, what is the total number of setups for item 2145? There is some item called item 2145 and it will need 100 batches and each batch has to be set up twice. So total number of setups is 100 into 200. 100 into 2, that is 200. With that in mind, now can we apply the total setup cost for item, or let me call it this way: setup cost allocated to item 2145. 200 into 400. That is cost number of batches into number of setups into cost per setup. ठीक है. What amount should we charge to each copy of item 2145? 80,000 divided by 5,000. Cost allocated to each, or cost charged to each copy. 80,000 is the total setup cost that you have allocated. And what is the annual demand? Annual demand is 5,000. So cost charged to each copy is 16. So you have to input 16 and you will get your answer. Now, there is one thing that we could have avoided in this question. I deliberately chose the uh, long drawn path. Why? See, this question, while it appears to be a question on activity based costing, and I know it is, you can still cut it short. See, he estimates that his printing machine will need to be set up 200 times per month. And right here, you realize that, the number of setups is 200. So you can straight away divide 80,000 by 5,000 and get 16. Because the cost allocated is the same as the total monthly setup cost. And that machine right now is only being used for one item, is what appears. But if you wish to go down the long drawn path, you can go down that path. It will ensure that you get your answer right. Now, this part now is very important, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes. In this question, it doesn't make a significant difference because the item is, in the item is a whole number. Okay. But if the answer was something like 16, for example, hypothetical. If answer was 16.71 and question says nearest dollar, you must write 17 in the answer box. A lot of people make that mistake. They don't write 17, they write 16.71 and then you will get a zero. So this instruction in the question is very important. Make sure that you pay attention to it. Okay? Any doubts in this one, please let me know. Okay. Krisha, Ishan,
No doubt.
Manvi.
No, sir, no doubt.
Sometimes now the questions on specialist cost accounting techniques, they do test your patience. So don't get frustrated in the exam if the calculation is taking longer. It is meant to take longer and they are trying to basically see if you can remain patient. My advice is, often if you see, like, questions which are very calculation intensive, like ABC and all of that, maybe, finish the theory questions first and then move on to these questions. Have a look at the next one. What is the warehousing cost for the first day of operations for the period? Meadow Company uses an activity based costing system. The budgeted cost for warehousing for the next 6 months are 356,014, of which 215,414 is regarding handling receipt of material. The balance is for the issue of goods to production. In the same period, it is expected that there will be 3,700 receipts and 2,500 issues. On the first date, on the first day of operations, the company processed 14 receipts and 6 issues. Up. The budgeted cost warehousing for the first 6 months. Total budgeted warehousing cost. is how much? 356,014. When you don't know how to deal with a question, it seems overwhelming. Whatever is written in statement form, try to convert it into number form. And that will help you understand, and the mystery will start getting resolved. Of which 215414 is regarding handling receipt of material. Okay. So receipt related cost 215414. So issue related cost will be this minus this 356,014 minus 215414. ठीक है. This is my issue related cost. Now, what have they asked me? They are asking me what is the warehouse cost for the first day of operations. Okay, you have identified the cost of issue and the cost of handling the receipt. Now, in the same period, it is expected that there will be 3700 receipts and 2500 issues. So, I will write my cost pool first. What is my cost pool? Uh, Warehousing cost, receipt related, and warehousing cost, issue related. Now, what is, or rather, cost description, I will call it. Then amount, receipt related, issue related. What is your cost driver? What is the item that influences the cost? Number of receipts and number of issues. 3700, 2500. Now, cost per unit of cost driver. 215414 upon 3700. This upon 2500. 58.22. I will write this as per receipt and per issue. Okay. But that's not what we need, right? Now we have been told that there are 14 receipts and 6 issues. Let's see how to tackle that. Number of movements. There are 14 receipts and 6 issues. Now I would recommend, don't if you want an appropriate answer na, don't make it 58.22. Just directly multiply one number with another number. 14 into this, see the actual value could be 58.22976, and don't round it off. Just multiply it directly. 1152.52. ठीक है. So questions which require patience, but if you do it right, you will get your answer. So make sure that you give adequate importance to the steps. At least when you are preparing at the start of the process now, make sure that you write down everything. Focus on accuracy first and speed later. Okay. Have a look at the answer and tell me if there's anything you want me to add.
Sir, these both questions are in lecture as well.
This was there?
Both of them, the
Yes,
first
sir.
one and the
Both
second
of
one.
Okay. Okay. ठीक है. We'll take up something that was not there in the lecture. This one I'm sure wasn't there. This wasn't there, right? Themens Company?
No, sir, it wasn't there.
This isn't there. What is the distribution cost for this customer? Always read the requirement first, then go to the narrative. And here the question expects you to answer to the nearest dollar. Okay. Now, Themens Company uses activity-based costing. The budgeted distribution costs for the next year are transportation cost and order processing cost, and then you have total distribution cost. It is estimated that 3,25,000 orders will be processed in the next year, and that delivery vehicles will travel 14,95,000 kilometers. A customer has indicated that 138 orders, each requiring an average journey of 122 kilometers, will be placed next year. What is the distribution cost to the for this customer to the nearest dollar? Okay, chalo. Up. How do we go about it? Identify the cost pool, identify the cost driver. So, what is my cost pool? My cost pool is transport cost, and I have order processing cost. Okay. Now, what is my cost driver? Cost driver is something that influences the cost, that has an impact on the cost. For transportation cost, my cost driver will be the distance traveled, kilometer traveled, so to say.
Yes, sir.
And order processing cost, what is the cost driver? Number of orders processed. Now, what is the amount? 2631,200 and 1573. Now, cost driver value 3,25,000 orders will be processed, and how many kilometers? 14,95,000 kilometers. ठीक है. Cost per cost driver 1.76, and then there is 15,73,000 divided by 3.25. This is 1.76 per kilometer. This is 4.84 per order. Now, how many have we? So there are 138 orders, right? Up values for current customer. How many orders do you have? You have 138 orders, and it's an average journey of 122 kilometers. So how will you go about it?
I think it should be ulta. Orders is
Oh,
138.
sorry. 138 and 122. So what's the total cost then? Total cost is 122 into 1.76. And is it right?
Yes, sir.
Is 4.84 per order the correct calculation? Yes, it is. 122 kilometers at 1.76 per kilometer gets you 214.72. And order processing cost is 4.84 per order. And how many orders are you servicing?
38.
138. Now, a customer has indicated that 138 orders will be placed, each requiring an average journey of 122 kilometers. So, what should we do next? Is this the answer, or we need to do something else here?
Sir, I think it is each order of 122 kilometers. I think it should be
Correct.
1.
So, the choice of words here is very, very important, which is why this is a tricky question. See, a customer has indicated that 138 orders, but each requiring a journey of 122 kilometers. So one order needs a journey of 122 kilometers, and there are 138 such orders, each So each requires a journey of 122 kilometers. So when I'm talking about the cost of executing one order, okay, they have asked you distribution cost for this customer. What is the cost of executing one order? It is transport cost plus order processing cost. Observe now. When you are finishing one order, how much transportation cost are you incurring? You are incurring 214.72 plus. To finish one order, you have to incur an order processing cost of 4.84. That is the cost of executing one order, and they want the total cost of executing 138 orders. Okay. So now tell me what is the total here? 219.56.
219.
Yes,
So
sir.
total cost of 138 orders is 219.56 into 138. Correct. 219.56 into 138. 30,299. Why is this question tricky? Because if you observe, there are a couple of places where you can go wrong. You will get so carried away by your knowledge of activity based costing that you will fail to realize the you will fail to emphasize the word each. They have asked you the total distribution cost, right? They have asked you the total cost of executing this of total cost of executing 138 orders. Now to finish one order, what do you have to do? To finish one order, you have to travel 122 kilometers. Okay, so that is the first part. To complete one order, you have to travel 122 kilometers. So transportation cost relating to one order is 122 kilometers into the cost per kilometer. But to finish one order, you incur order processing cost of 4.84. So they are asking you total cost of distribution. So first of all, calculate cost of executing one order, which is 214.72 plus 4.84, and then multiply that by 138. See, otherwise the calculations tend to get incorrect in this case. So be careful.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Tell me.
Like, what I did was that I multiplied 122 into 138 and into 1.76,
Okay.
and then added 4.84 into 138. So the answer is coming same as
That's the same. Yeah, yeah,
3219.
there's no problem there. No problem. See, then again, in the first step, you have to multiply by the number of orders, right? So that
Yeah.
approach is also okay. There's no problem there.
Because-
All you need to do is you need to be careful, because if you don't do the correct multiplication, you will not get your answer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. This question wasn't there. Now look at this one and tell me, was this question there? A company manufactures two products, C and D.
No, sir, it was not there.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So let's take this up. So Ishan, when you said you did the question, you did it now or you have already attempted these questions?
No, sir. Now only.
Okay, हाँ फिर ठीक है. I thought आपने पहले ये भी कर लिया preparation.
Yes.
What is the budgeted overhead cost per unit of product D using activity-based costing? Budgeted overhead cost per unit of product D. Okay. A company manufactures two products C and D for which the following information is available. Okay. Product C, product D. Budgeted production in units 1000, 4000. Labor hours per unit in total 8 and 10. Number of production runs required 13 and 15. Number of inspections during production 5 and 3. Total production setup cost 1 lakh 40. Total inspection cost 80. Total overhead cost 96. Other overhead costs are absorbed based on labor hours per unit. Let's do one thing. I want you to try this question once. I'll give you 3 minutes, because that is the ideal time I would want you to spend on a question in the exam. Spend 3 minutes at 7:02, try till 7:05, then we'll discuss it together. ठीक है, start करो पहले. Now again, another question on activity-based costing, and let's see how to tackle this one. Now there are different this thing that they have given you, right? They have given you four options. They have not given you an option. It's basically a drop down that you have to work on. But there are multiple cost items in front of you at this point. What are these cost items? There is total production setup cost, there is total inspection cost, and there are other overhead costs. Now let's write down the cost pool and cost driver. Okay, so setup cost, inspection cost, overhead cost, other overheads, I should call it, other overheads. For production setup cost, it will be number of production runs required, right? Production runs. Inspection cost,
Inspection.
number of inspections. Other overheads, they have told you it is
Labor hours.
labor hours. Okay. Ab 1,40,000, 80,000, 96,000. Then cost driver value. Product C, number of units 1,000, number of units 4,000. Number of production runs required is 13 for product C, 15 for product D. So 13 plus 15, which is 28. Then this is number of inspections during production. So that would be 5 plus 3, that is 8. And then for labor hours, how much is it? Labor hours per unit in total. So basically 1000 into 8 plus 4000 into 10, right? How much would that be?
48,000.
48,000.
48,000. Okay. Now, cost per cost driver. 1,40,000 upon 28. 28 5s are 140. So this will be 5,000 per production run. Is that correct? Then
Yes, sir.
80,000 upon 8 is 1,000 per inspection, and 96,000 upon 40,
10,000 होगा ना?
Rated
10,000.
10,000 inspection.
हाँ सर 10,000.
10,000. My bad. This is 2 per hour. Chalo, we did this. Now, what is the budgeted overhead cost per unit of D using activity-based costing? So, cost calculation for product B. Okay, so let's start with the setup cost. What is the total number of setups? So total number of production runs 15. Setup cost 15 runs into 5,000 per run. Then inspection cost. How do you get inspection cost? 80 number of inspections 3. 3 inspections into 10,000 per inspection. 3 inspections into 10,000 per inspection, and 4,000 units produced into 10 hours per unit into 2 per hour. other overheads. 10,000 units into 10,000 है ना? नहीं, sorry, 4,000 है. 4,000 units into 10 hours per unit into 2 per hour. Right? Now just add the 15 into 5,000, then 3 into 10,000 and 4,000 into 10 into 2. This is total overheads for product D. And how many units did you make? You made 4,000 units, right? So what is number of units produced? 4,000. So overhead cost per unit, which will basically be 1,85,000 upon 4,000. कितना होगा?
46,250.
46.25.
0.25. Have they asked you to round? Of course, you will know that in the option. And 46.25 is there in the options part. ठीक है? एक बार have a look. Tell me if there's something that you want me to clarify further. Works?
So just one thing,
Mhm.
in that total overhead per cost unit, I got 46,250. I mean, like, I don't know, I mean, like,
Here.
no, the below answer, row 45.
It's 4,000 units, right? So overhead cost, what did you divide it by?
So the formula had not taken in the Excel, yeah.
Okay. There's a theory question in the study hub. We might or might not have done it, but I think we should revisit that question because it helps to revise quite a lot of concepts about activity-based costing. So let's do a theory-based question, which will help you to build your knowledge base. कॉन्सेप्ट भी रिवाइज हो जाएगा एंड एक और क्वेश्चन भी हो जाएगा. Just a moment. Have a look at this. Which three of the following statements about activity-based costing and traditional costing systems are correct? No overabsorption or underabsorption of overheads can occur under ABC. Do you think this statement is right? Manvi, what do you think? I think statement A says that there is no overabsorption or underabsorption possible under ABC. By that, we are saying that ABC always gives 100% accurate results. The answer is no. ABC does not give you 100% accurate results. Not happening. ABC is useful for businesses which have high overheads in their cost structure. This is true because see, the whole effort of, identification of the cost of the appropriate cost driver, then putting yourself through the trouble of doing so many calculations. I think that makes sense only when the proportion of overheads is high, which means ABC is useful for businesses that have high overheads in the capital structure. ABC is not suitable for businesses that provide services. No, it can be used for businesses that provide service. In fact, ABC can be used for any business. It's better if we use it for businesses that have a high proportion of overheads because doing that justifies the whole effort, which is why option B is true. Marginal costing understates the true cost of a product when compared to ABC. If you remember, in marginal costing, only variable costs are considered in product cost, and the fixed costs are sent directly to P&L. So fixed cost is never included in product cost when it comes to marginal costing. When it comes to absorption costing, and activity-based costing is a subset of absorption costing, the overhead cost, fixed overhead costs are also included in the uh, cost of that particular inventory item. So statement D is right. Marginal costing, because it does not include fixed overheads, it will understate the true cost of the product. This statement is right. ABC is better than absorption costing in understanding what causes costs to be incurred. Yes, because see, absorption costing simply assumes that the only way to distribute the cost is to look at the total number of units or the total number of labor hours. Something very, very basic like that. Activity-based costing, on the other hand, for every item of cost incurred, it tries to identify which item influences the cost, which item has an impact on cost. It tries to do that first. And then using that as a base, it tries to find out how are the costs influenced and calculated. So ABC is better because it helps you to find the link between the cost and the cost influencer or cost driver. This is correct. And both ABC and marginal costing treat all fixed cost as product cost. This is incorrect. Marginal costing does not treat fixed cost as product cost. In fact, marginal costing treats fixed cost as period cost. Cool. Are you with me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me the basic idea behind life cycle costing? What does it stand for? If yeah, Pele, you try, and then of course I will add on to it.
It is, I mean,
Calculate.
Please
yeah,
raise
go
your
ahead.
hand for answering. Ishan, go ahead.
So like to basically calculate the cost of the product over its useful life or the period.
Okay. So, Krisha, do you want to add something to that, to life cycle costing, what he said just now?
Yeah, so it's basically calculating the cost over the life of the product. So to all the stages, you're calculating the cost, and then you are calculating the total cost in the end.
Okay. In my opinion, life cycle costing could be the dumbest method of costing. Why? Because it's the easiest calculation. In your numerator, you take up what? In your numerator, you take up all the costs that have ever been incurred over the life cycle of the product. Okay. You take up all the costs that have ever been incurred over the life cycle of the product, right from inception till the very end when the product is retired. You take all of those costs in the numerator, and in the denominator, you take the overall expected level of production. You divide the total cost to be expected to be incurred over the lifetime divided by total number of units expected to be produced over the lifetime. Once you do that, you get your life cycle cost per unit. It's really as simple as that. If I were to go back to our Excel sheets, Excel notes, that we have prepared, the formula, the discussion on life cycle costing is probably, as I said, the easiest. So let's quickly go through the sheet to recap. How does life cycle costing work? See, every product has five very distinct phases. The pre-production or the product development stage, where you are setting up the machinery, you are doing pre-production work, research and development, product design cost, building up production capabilities. So all of that is the pre-production stage. When the product is yet to be launched, you are only incurring cost. You have still not started earning any revenue. Then you launch the product with a lot of fanfare, with a lot of promotional activity getting incurred. So you incur marketing cost and promotion based cost. That's the second stage. At this stage, the revenue is low. It's not as high, but marketing costs are super high at this stage. After the launch phase, the product enters the growth phase when you actually start seeing the return of your hard work. At this stage, of course, see, the variable costs start declining because of economies of scale. Since you are doing mass production, you will end up procuring items in bulk. When you procure items in bulk, naturally you will be able to get a discount, you will be able to economize on the overall production cost. Then fixed costs are recovered over greater volumes because the numerator remains the same but denominator grows. So in the growth stage, costs decline, followed by the maturity stage. Marketing and distribution economies are achieved, but overall marketing costs may increase to respond to increased competition. So as the product has matured, now other competitors have joined the market, and when other competitors have joined the market, naturally the costs per unit might skyrocket again, because now you have to incur more cost for marketing in order to keep your customer instead of finding a customer. Now the cost is being incurred towards keeping a customer, and then the product enters the decline stage, when of course the product is ultimately phased out. Like iPhone 16 now is in the decline stage because iPhone 17 has already come to the market. And what is life cycle cost of product A? Total cost of product A over its entire life cycle divided by total number of units of product A. Now, the numerical questions on activity based, sorry, on life cycle costing don't tend to be very tough, because it's the formula is very simple. If they want to kind of throw some googly at you, it will be done through theory based questions or conceptual questions. Calculation is the easiest thing that you can do in life cycle costing. We will practice one question, but I don't foresee or I don't expect too many numerical questions coming from this unit. Okay, have a look at this one. Which of the following costs would be included in the life cycle cost of the product? Now, how can ACCA try to make things difficult for you? Sometimes the question will say which of the following would not be included in the life cycle cost. So you should be very careful when you are reading the question. What does this one say? This one says which costs would be included: planning and concept design, prototype testing, distribution, and customer service. What do you think, Krisha? Which costs will be included and which won't?
Uh, for all of them.
Correct. All three items will be included. This is right. Just so it's not that every question in the paper has to be difficult. I think as students now, we have this uh, we have this messed up mindset that no, only difficult things will be asked. That's not the case. Even easy questions can be asked. We overcomplicate our lives by assuming that everything is going to be difficult. So even if the right answer is in front of you, you will try to find out, oh, is there some complexity? Which it's not. Which costing approach identifies ways of making an acceptable profit margin on the market price of a product? ठीक है, making an acceptable profit margin on the market price. This relates to target costing. So probably we should not pick up this question. Let's pick up the next one. The following statements have been made about life cycle costing. Okay, which of the following are true? It helps forecast a product's profitability over its entire life. It takes into account a product's total cost over its entire life. Statement 2 is true for sure. If statement 2 is true, then those options which don't have statement 2 should be discarded. Discard 1 and 3. Okay, now it focuses on the production of monthly profit statements throughout a product's life. Do you think it makes sense? What is your take? It focuses on the production of monthly profit statements. No, it does not. This has got my monthly profit statement का कोई लेना देना नहीं है. So if 3 is wrong, then all items which contain 3 should be eliminated. Now look at 1. It helps forecast a product's profitability over its entire life. This is true. Statement 1 is true, because now you're not only focused on profitability per unit or profitability per year. You're looking at the entire life and then arriving at the profit figure, which is why the answer is option A. ठीक है, देख लो एक बार. Any questions that you have, please let me know. ठीक है, चलो. Let's do. Oh God, I opened the wrong thing. Let's do another one. The following costs arise in relation to the production of a new product: research and development, design, testing, advertising, production. In calculating the lifetime cost of the product, which of the above items would be excluded? Okay, focus on the word excluded. Which items are you not supposed to include in life cycle cost? Have a look and tell me. Manvi, what do you think? Should we? Are there any costs that should be excluded, or all the costs have to be included?
I think all these costs will
All
be
costs
included.
have to be included, which means none of the cost has to be excluded. The answer is option D. If the question would have been which of the above items should be included, then you would have chosen all of the above. ठीक है. Now, this is a numerical one. Let's see. A bank has developed a new type of account called the gold account. Development and advertising costs were 50,000. At the start of each of the next 4 years, 1,000 new customers are expected to open a gold account and will pay the bank 300 each year that they use it. Of the 1,000 new customers who open a gold account yearly, 500 are expected to close the account after 1 year and 500 after 2 years. The bank estimates it will cost 400 per customer to administer the gold account for each customer's first year, which reduces to $50 for each customer's second year. Ignoring the time value of money, what is the life cycle profit per customer of the gold account? I'll again give you 3 minutes. Chalo, इस question के लिए I'll give you 5 minutes because you need to be a little more careful. Attempt the question first on your own and then we'll solve it together. ठीक है, देखो इसको. I'm giving you 5 minutes to solve this question. A bank has developed a new type of account called the gold account. Development and advertising costs were 5,000. At the start of each of the next 4 years, 1,000 customers are expected to open a gold account. ठीक है. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Okay. Year and number of customers. I would say number of new customers. At the start of each of the next 4 years, 1,000 customers are expected to open a gold account. And by the way, each of these 1,000 customers will pay the company 300 each year that they use it. Of the 1,000 new customers who open a gold account, 500 are expected to close the account after 1 year and 500 after 2 years. So, customers from previous year who will continue in this year. ठीक है. Now look at year one. Year one had 1,000 customers. Now look at the second column, which is customers from previous year who will continue in this year. Out of 1,000 in the last year, 500 from year one will continue, 500 will close. ठीक है. Then ये 1,000 में से 500 will continue here. These 500 will then close after year 2. Then year 2 में 1,000 customers opened an account, out of which 500 from year 2 will continue in year 3 and 500 from year 3 will continue in year 4. अब look at year 1 Total 1000 opened, 500 will close after year 1 and 500 will remain active in year 2. Then these remaining 500 will also close after year 2. Same thing will happen for year 2 customers. Total 1000 open, 500 will close after year 2 and 500 will remain active in year 3. These remaining 500 will also close after year 3. So this is how the sequence will go from year to year. ठीक है? So ये fresh and these are from the previous year. Okay. Now how many are, what is the total here? The total here is how much? 4000 here and 4000, and here how many? You will have 1500 customers who need to be serviced. So with this, what do you have? You know how many customers are going to be there in each of the years that the company will actually have to service. With this knowledge in mind, now let's try to move on to other data points. ठीक है, देखते हैं what are these data points. अब the bank estimates it will cost 400 per customer to administer the gold accounts for each customer's first year. ठीक है, for the first year, to administer a customer's account in the first year, you will incur a cost of 400, which reduces to 50 for each customer in the second year. Okay, now total customers in their first year. ठीक है, how many customers do you have in the first year? You have 4000 customers in the first year. Okay, and what will be the cost of administering these customers? Cost of administering per customer 400. So total cost for managing first year is how much? 4000 into 400. ठीक है, and total customers who continue to second year. Acha, oh, one more thing that we forgot to do here. We have to calculate life cycle cost, right? So this is how it will be. 2000. My mistake. How many do you have here? 2000. What is the cost of administering per customer? 50. So total cost of managing second year, 2000 into 50. Suddenly, you know, it has dropped. Okay, and what else? You have how much? Development and advertising cost. 50,000. So total life cycle cost. I believe it is 17,50,000. Let's see if we have missed out on something. And how much do we charge the customers? At the start of each of the next 4 years, customers are expected to open a gold account and will pay the bank 300 each year that they use it. So 4000 customers use it for first year. So total fees collected 4000 into 300. How much is that? 4000 into 300. 2000 customers use it for second year. So total fees collected Not 4,000 now. 2,000 into 300. अब overall fees collected 12,000 plus 6,000. Now you have total fees here. You have total life cycle cost here. What is the total profit? Tell me. 50,000 है ना? Total profit 18 lakh minus 17 lakh 50,000, which is 50,000. And they want you to calculate the, ignoring time value of money, what is the life cycle profit per customer. So you will divide 50,000 by 4,000, because total customers served ever are how much? Total customers served are 4,000. So lifetime profit per customer should be 5,000 upon 4,000. That is 12.5, which is option B. ठीक है? Slightly tricky, slightly different, this question, and you have to be on your toes. अलग question था, so makes all the more sense, to discuss it in the class. ठीक है? Have a look and tell me if there's anything that you haven't understood.
So can you please explain the solution again? Like a summary of the whole solution.
I can't hear you properly. Can you repeat?
So can you please explain the solution again, like a summary?
Okay.
Like what? Yeah.
See, the question says that if 1,000 customers open an account in year one, then 500 close it in the first year and then 500 close it in the second year. So if in year one you have enrolled 1,000 customers, then how many of those will go to second year? 500 will go to second year, right? And after that, there will be 0 customers left. है ना? So 1,000 customers opened their account, 500 closed after year 1 and remaining 500 closed after year 2. So out of these 1,000 customers, you served 1,000 customers in the first year, and you served, out of these 1,000, you served only 500 customers in their second year of existence. Then you move to, see, there is a difference between year 1 and first year, and there is a difference in year 2 and second year. 1,000 customers came to you in year 2, you served them, but in में से only 500 went to the next year. See, here 500 from year 2 went to year 3, right? So ये इनका first year था, out of which 500 went to year 2, and then of course it became 0. Because you enroll in year 2, some of them 500 leave at the end of that year, then only 500 go to the next year, and then again you become 0. So that way in each of the years, in year 3 again 1,000 customers were enrolled, out of which 500 left at the end of year 3 and only 500 went to year 4. Same thing goes for year 4 also. So ultimately, from the date of their enrollment into the system, they leave and they close their accounts. पूरे के पूरे customers, they 500 of them close in the first, by the end of first year, remaining 500 close by the end of second year. अब people who enrolled in the first year, उनके लिए end of year 1 is first year, end of year 2 is second year. People who enrolled in year 2, उनके लिए year 2 is their first year and year 3 is their second year, because it's not all of them enrolled at the same time, right? मैंने 2025 में enroll किया. For me 26 is year, मतलब 2025 is the first year, 2026 is the second year. If Krisha enrolls in 2026, for her 2026 is the first year, 2027 is the second year. So depending on when you are getting enrolled, your your first and second year will be defined accordingly. What they are saying is that the bank estimates it will cost 400 per customer to administer the gold account for each customer's first year. For My first year, I am getting enrolled in 2025. You need $400 to manage my account. Krisha enrolls in 2026. For Krisha, 2026 is the first year. So for the company to service Krisha, they have to pay 400. ठीक है. Now if I go to the second year, cost of servicing the customer in his second year is 500. So we found out कि first year में कितने लोग थे? There were 1000, 1000, 1000, 1000, 1000, a total of 4000 people. And ये 1000 में से how many went to their respective second years? Only 500 went to their respective second years. So 500, 500, 500, 500 total हो गया आपका 2000. For 4000 customers, who each one of them were active in the first year, to service them, company required a cost of 400. And out of the customers who went to the second year, there was 500, 500, 500, 500 in each of the years. Okay. Here, when customers come to the second year, what is the cost of servicing them? The cost of servicing them is 50. So आपने वो multiply किया. Then you had development and advertising cost. You added all the three together. You added this, you added this, and you added this. इसका total हो गया 17,50,000. You compared that with the total revenue. See, 4,000 customers use it in the first year. So 4,000 into 300. Out of those 4,000, only half are going to the next year. So 2,000 into 300, 6 lakhs is the total earning. What is the total fees collected? 18 lakh. Total life cycle cost 17 lakh 50,000. So that's how you got a profit of 50,000.
Yes, sir, understood.
Understood? Okay. And see, ultimately, what have they asked? They have asked what is the life cycle profit per customer. See, this 4,000, 2,000 calculation we were doing in order to do the cost estimation correctly. But at the end of the day, how many customers did we actually serve? We actually served 4,000 customers overall. So when you are calculating the lifetime profit, you will divide 50,000 by 4,000, not by 8,000. ठीक है, मतलब not by 4,000 plus 2, 6 से आप divide नहीं करेंगे, you will divide by 4,000 only. ठीक है.
Yes.
I think the last question was quite something to think about. है ना? Cool.
Yes, sir.
So this is different, and which is why when we do different questions from the kit, see, exactly something like this is never going to be asked in the paper, but it trains your mind for all the different scenarios, and now you are ready to take it on whenever it comes in the paper. ठीक है? Okay. Now, in the next session, I want to take up throughput accounting, target costing, and environmental management accounting. Can you finish those lectures by then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just give me one moment, guys.